Welcome back. You're still watching Politics Tonight, digging beyond the headlines. And now to our interview with the guest of the day. I am joined by Michael Achimugu, the former aide of the former Vice President Atiku Abubakar, to speak on corruption allegations. But before then, let's share this conversation between the two men as released by Achimugu himself with you.
Yeah, Mike.
Yes, sir.
How can you ask me what is STV?
I don't know what SCV is, and I need to be sure before I start arguing with these people.
STV is a special purpose vehicle. In other words, is a company they incorporate to carry out certain, activities.
Okay, sir.
You see, what happened was when we came into, the office, and I advised the president against, open corruption.
Yes, sir.
I told him, I said, give me 3 people you trust.
Yes, sir.
And I will prepare 3 companies for which they will be the subscribers, or rather the directors.
Okay, sir.
So that, if there is any contract that we give, they will act like consultants,
yeah.
And then they are giving a fee.
Yes,
and
sir.
that fee is what we now use, to fund the party instead of, engaging open. So he gave me the names of Fashawe, Andy Uba, and the late, this guy, from Borno State.
All right, Mr. Achimugu, now let's get this out of the way. What motivated you to take on your former boss in the way you have done?
Well, there's basically been 2 reasons which I have repeated over and over on social media. And first is that young persons like myself who serve, politicians, should never again be taken for granted. Secondly, to warn Nigerians, educate them before the elections to prevent them from making the greatest mistake ever. If Nigerians think that they've seen corruption before, let them wait until they make the mistake of putting the Atiku family into office.
All right. Can you tell us more about how you came in contact with former Vice President Atiku Abubakar?
Yeah. In 2017, he had seen the trailer of a TV show I was hosting at the time. He liked it and had his principal staff officer, Abdullah Yako, God rest his soul, replied to an email from me inviting me to his house along with my team. We met with him on the 1st of August, 2017, and then a relationship ensued from there.
All right, so before then, you had never met former Vice President Atiku Abubakar?
Before 1st of August 2017, no.
All right. So what kind of relationship did you have with him? Because some people are doubting if you were really his former aide.
Oh, well, at first it was a father-son relationship. We're quite close. Sometimes he would ask me to come over to Dubai to meet with him. I have facilitated appointments of other media aides for him. I've secured admission to schools for him. I've carried out a lot of assignments, some of which I would not be able to speak about on television. It's also instructive to note that as damage control, when they sent some of their spokespersons to deny his ever having a relationship with me on national television, it didn't take too long for some others to realize, it was them digging a grave for themselves, because, it's common knowledge, the relationship I had with him, and so not too long ago, practically on the same day that Dino Melaye was saying Atiku never had a personal or professional relationship with this person, Sheikh Umadi was saying, yes, he did indeed work with Atiku as an aide, I was not just an aide to Atiku himself. I had a legal contract with his daughter Hawa, for whom I was her media strategist, and also with his son Mohammed, who is chairman of Atiku Support Organization, right inside Atiku's campaign headquarters, where I was the media director as well.
So if it was a father-son relationship and you had this connection with his family, at what point did you fall out with Atiku to start piecing together information while still his aide? What really happened? Why did you record your boss?
As I stated in my affidavit, my boss wasn't the kind of man that, I could call randomly, because he was always busy and most times his phone wouldn't be with him. So initially, I had to record those calls so I could play back instructions without having to revert back to him, and bother his schedule. That particular phone call that you just played, it didn't quite sit well with me because you see, people have to understand that I was besotted with the man. It wasn't because of his presidential ambition. I sincerely loved the man, and I was happy to, be under his tutelage at the time, but that particular explanation that he gave to me, because it didn't sit well with me. If anybody who used to follow me on social media at the time can replay, after that explanation, I never went back to engage Kayode Ogundamisi, whose tweet had led to that conversation. Because when I heard what my principal had said, I realized that there was more to this. It led me to, after a few years, a couple of years, I began to see so many other things within the family. There's this huge dysfunction, that doesn't augur well, that doesn't speak well of the family. It lies behind the facade that people cannot really see. But I am Nigerian, I have children, and so do millions of other Nigerians. And I understand that if this is allowed to fester, if this is promoted to Aso Rock, then the entire Nigeria will be shattered. And so I decided to come out and try to prevent this from happening.
All right, still talking about that particular audio, at what point did that conversation happen?
Oh, yeah. I had seen a tweet by one Kayode Ogundamisi, alleging that Atiku had received a 100 million naira bribe from former Plateau State Governor Joshua Dare. You'd recall that the governor had been sentenced to prison as a result of that particular transaction. Other names were mentioned. And unlike some media aides, I didn't used to defend my principal blindly. I would always seek clarification from him, ask him for the facts of the matter before I would know what to say out there. So I had sent him an email asking, for the facts about that transaction. And he mentioned SPV. I didn't, honestly, it was the first time I was hearing about SPV, and then because I didn't understand it, he called me to explain. That was what led to the phone conversation that you played. I was shocked, with the things he told me, and it led me to begin to try to dig deeper, and re-examine the person I had so much believed in.
Okay, so I'm sure you must have seen or heard that Senator Dino Melaye described you as a blackmailer and attention seeker. How would you react to that?
Well, first of all, Nigerians know who the biggest political clown in this country is, and that's the person of Dino Melaye. And it was a very weak attempt, at damage control. The issue here is very germane to Nigeria's future as we approach the 2023 polls. Let's assume, but not even concede, that I am a blackmailer. How does this change the fact that Atiku admitted to having used SPVs for corruption? You see, they're trying to divert attention. Blackmail is when you say to someone, look, I have this on you. You either do this for me or I'll expose you. I have never done that to anybody. There's no proof of that anywhere. So how come I'm a blackmailer and Atiku worked with me for years and didn't call me a blackmailer until I have made these revelations now, years after I started working with Atiku? So I really don't take Dino Melaya seriously. I think that Nigerians do not have much energy to waste on a man who claimed to have slept on a tree for hours or days or possibly even weeks. He's just a court jester, and honestly, I do not intend to have any back and forth with Dino. Let them face the issues. You see, initially, Dino said that phone call never happened, that I manipulated it. But you also saw another one of the Atiku spokespersons admit on TV that the phone call happened, that's Atiku's voice, but he tried to explain away the context of Atiku's speech. This is not going away. They cannot explain it away because it is real. It is.
All right, but he has also questioned, I'm still talking about Dino Melaye here. He has also questioned your letter of appointment as an aide to Atiku. He said his principal never had any relationship with you.
Well, Sheikh Umadi, also another close Atiku ally and associate, also spoke on TV and affirmed that I worked as an aide to Atiku. I don't know also what that has got to do with these revelations, really, because I am not making allegations against this man and his family. I am putting forward what they have said themselves. Whether I was officially an aide or not is not even up for argument. Everybody knows, it's common knowledge, because that's how everybody knew me, right from time. But the issue here is whether aid or no aid. Did Atiku say these things in that phone conversation? Once you authenticate that phone call that actually did happen, then there is a case against this person. Nigerians ought to begin to ask themselves, is such a person fit to be president of this country? That is the only issue that matters. That is the only thing I'm willing to discuss. What Dino says is of no importance to me. It's just a political job after all.
But yeah. Mr. Achimugu, do you have any documents to prove that you were indeed an aide to Atiku Abubakar?
When Atiku began to prepare to run this election, he set up a technical committee for his 2023 election, headed by Raymond Dupesi of AIT. I received an official letter of appointment in the media arm of that committee. I also received a letter of appointment from Atiku's son Mohammed as Director of Media for Atiku Support Organization. I had an office domiciled right inside the headquarters of the Atiku Campaign Organization. And if you remember my first video, I didn't only describe myself as an aide, I also said I was a facilitator. And everybody seems to be skipping that part as well. I have provided proof that I was actually, an official appointment. I've provided proof that I resigned by myself in January of 2022, about a year ago, from the Atiku political structure, after which I became, media consultant to Professor Kingsley Moghalu. So this is not up for argument.
All right, I know you tried to touch on this earlier, but there is another accusation. Dino accused you of using fake technology known as artificial intelligence for the voice notes you released. So can you go to great lengths to prove that it is not fake?
People's Gazette have never contacted me up to this moment, but I did read their report where they say that their voice recognition experts had authenticated that call before, they put out their story. Secondly, I saw an affidavit of fact. All that is left is for the relevant agencies and any member of the public to subpoena the networks. I put out the phone number with which His Excellency had called me on the day and the phone number by which I had received the call. All everybody needs to do is seek the transcript of that call from the networks. The moment you authenticate that phone call actually did happen, there's nothing else. And so my affidavit of fact is there. I'm willing to present myself to the law. I'm not even a tech person. I don't know how to manipulate these things. But the reason Dino and his people would know is because this is what they do, and that is why a few days later, and lacking any tangible defense for their master, they went ahead to forge a British Airways flight ticket in my name, claiming that I had left Abuja airport for the UK, on the 11th of January. I have never had a UK visa in my life. I have never booked a flight on British Airways. I had to write British Airways via their Twitter handle, seeking an explanation for that. And they did respond and said that that flight ticket and its reference number does not exist in their systems, meaning that it was forged. I put out this information with a screenshot of their reply to me. So I have nothing really to defend that.
The relevant anti-corruption agencies haven't said anything about your revelations.
Oh, well, it's up to them. I can't force them to do their job. My information, my duty is to put out the facts of the matter for Nigerian voters to have the opportunity to properly assess, one of the candidates who's running for election. 2023 is going to be a watershed year for Nigeria's future. Going forward, everybody needs to be put under the microscope. And with the volume of what I know, remember, I have been saying, and I'm not kidding, that there's so much I know that if I put out there, will really destroy the fabric of this nation. In respect to His Excellency, a man whom I still respect in spite of all of this, I am limiting what I put out there to only the facts that are enough to guide voters, because if the agencies will not do their duty, then it becomes just a moral issue. And so that is left for Nigerian voters to make their decisions. Is this the kind of man and family that you want to become your president in 2023? I think I know what the answer is.
Now, some people are of the opinion that you seem to be ruining your future for this level of exposure, that people will not be comfortable dealing with you in future. Are you not concerned about this perception?
I am not. You see, when Atiku comes out to say, Tinubu begged me privately in 2007 to become my VP, that's putting out private information, yes? When Tinubu comes out to say, look, Atiku sent Akonde to me, begging me to be his VP, that's putting out private information. When Okonjo Iweala wrote a book revealing, private conversations, between herself and some governors, which governor approved this and did not approve that, who said this and who didn't say that. Nobody saw it as, breach of privacy. People write a lot about these things. President Obasanjo wrote My Watch and revealed a lot of things, that had been discussed, between himself and his former vice president. Nobody says it's a breach of trust. Is it because mine is not in a book form? Why am I giving out relevant information, both for security agencies and for the Nigerian public to know what goes on behind the scenes? Very critical to their future, and anybody calls it breach of trust. Atiku is not the only person I've worked with as media director. There is no other person I work with, whom I have come out to make these revelations about, because they are people of honor. A man like Professor Kingsley Moghalu, for instance, I did work with him as well. And even though he had lost his presidential primaries, he still came out, to praise the work I had done for him and even write me, a letter of personal recommendation. So if anybody chooses to see it this way, I would say that the majority of the people who are saying this, by the way, are Atiku supporters who are still saying these things, to divert attention from the core of the issue. I'm really not worried about that. Those who trust me, trust me. And if anybody does not trust me after now, well, still so be it. I know I have done my duty to country.
Yeah, from your explanation, you seem to be very close to Atiku and his children. So at what point did you decide to start documenting your transactions with Atiku and especially his children?
Like I said, the SPV conversation, it disappointed me for starters, and then there have been subsequent issues. I mean, between 2018 and now, 2022, it's a period of 4 years. And the things I saw by reason of my, relationship with the family, aren't things I can really put out here at the moment, because of what the effect will be. I am putting this out now to guide voters. Do not make the mistake of voting for this person. I had to record those things at the time it became imperative to do so, because I knew that this moment would come, and I was going to own it with my chest, because Atiku is one man and not God. Nigeria is a nation of 200 million people. People don't need to like me or trust me to examine the facts of this matter and make the right decisions, because every decision made by the larger population, the larger majority of 200 million people, will impact the entire nation going forward. It's not something to joke with. And like I've said, if I die as a result of this, I die satisfied.
All right. Do you have any other evidence to share? Because I see you have shared part 1, part 2, and 3. Are we to expect more revelations, or have you played your last card?
Well, I think I've told you 2 or 3 times now that there's so much more I'm not willing to put out there. A few minutes before this program began, I just put out another recording of Hawa Atiku, Atiku's daughter, saying that Atiku's wife, his first wife, Titi, who is billed to be first lady should Atiku win, uses juju, voodoo, for mind control. There's this dark cloud. You see, corruption, money corruption is not the only driver for the unsuitability of a person, for a leadership role. There's so much dysfunction, so much darkness behind the facade of the articles that made me fear. There have been, talk about assassinations. There's been talk around terrorism and so much that I cannot, in all honesty, put out there at the moment, because even with the little I put out there, as you can see, like you said, the relevant agencies have not done anything about it. The public cannot save me. I have to look over my shoulder for the rest of my life. But if need be, I will come clean about everything. But as of now, yes, there's so much more. I have not even sparked the surface. I have not.
All right, so if there is so much more, like you say, and you insist that you're doing this so Nigerians can choose wisely, why then are you keeping more revelations that can help Nigerians choose the best?
Well, the question will be, what have Nigerians done with what I've put out already? The people who are calling me blackmailer, saying I'm blackmailing, a man who confessed to ripping this nation, are they not Nigerians? I have children. I'm trying to keep my children safe, even if anything is going to happen to me. So I've done my part. I'm doing my part. Let Nigerians, the rest of the other Nigerians, do their own part as well.
Okay. Now, some people have also argued that these are mere allegations which can't be proven in court.
Well, let's leave that for the relevant. I cannot preempt the law. The issue is, did this phone call happen? Yes, it did. I can prove everything I put out there, which is why I have sworn an affidavit of fact. So I'm ready to be tested by the law and bring myself to scrutiny. Are they willing to do the same? That is the question.
All right, Mr. Michael Achimugu, we will continue this conversation.